What's up guys, my name's Brady, and today's video we're going to go over my last month's earnings from Hashflare mining, and then we're also going to take a look at the price of Bitcoin today and some of the trading indicators that I look for, so if you're interested in trading, how you can start getting involved with that. So let's first just take a look at my history here on Hashflare. So if we scroll down, here we go. Click all. These are all the different entries that you're going to see if you sign up with Hashflare. And basically what you're looking for is, this is your payout. This is how much Hashflare is paying you out in terms of Bitcoin each day. And this red number here represents the payment or the maintenance fee that Hashflare takes out. This tends to be roughly 17% or so. And as you can see, I've been reinvesting. These are what these purchases mean here. And then I kind of saved up for a bit and did the withdrawal, which you saw in my video from 2 days ago. But I've been on the site now for about a month. What I did is I threw all this into a spreadsheet yesterday, and I actually ended up mining about 0.3 Bitcoin over the course of a month, which is absolutely amazing. 0.3 Bitcoin at today's prices is absolutely insane. After I took out the fees, because I wanted to see, well, what did I really net, right? It ended up being roughly 0.25 Bitcoin. But let's just bring up a calculator quickly. So 0.25 Bitcoin, and then let's see how the price of Bitcoin is doing right now. So Bitcoin is actually taking off right now. It's at $17,100, which is roughly $4,275 in the past month, and this is completely profit. This is me taking out fees from Hashflare. Now if I can do that each and every month, and even if it goes down, just a little bit, I'm not too concerned. I'm going to keep reinvesting here and there. So I encourage you guys, if you find Hashflare to be a trustworthy site and you're interested, check out my Hashflare guide. I'll link it down in the description. It kind of goes over the basics of Hashflare, how to get started, what you need to look out for, how to start calculating your payments, everything you need to know. So now that we kind of looked at that, what I wanted to do next is show you guys this site here. This is called TradingView. TradingView is an excellent site for looking at the graphs of cryptocurrencies. I use this site. I've been using it now for a few weeks, and it's been amazing. So just to kind of show you some of the basics, I'm not going to go over everything today, all the different indicators that I use, but I want to go over at least some of the basics so you can get started and get going. First thing you're going to want to do, over in the top right, once you sign up to the site, over in the top right is a watch list. You can add any symbol you want in here. So if you just type in BTC, you can see the Bitcoin to USD to the Euro. You can get Bitcoin to other coins. You can do whatever you want. I've got quite an extensive list of coins here that I'm currently looking at, and right now I've got Bitcoin to USD up, and what we're noticing is that Bitcoin is actually breaking out. Now, what are some of the indicators that Bitcoin is breaking out? How am I seeing that it's breaking out besides it just going up? So first things first, we want to take a look at what we call resistance and support. So if we draw some lines here, let's take a look at where we think we find some resistance and support levels. So in this graph, we can see that it tends to bottom out at this point here. This is what we call a support level. And we also see resistant levels on the opposite, right? So this is where the graph or these lines are about to hit areas of previous highs. So a big one that we were looking for earlier today was right about here. This was a key area that we were looking for to see whether or not it would break this resistance, and it did, and it scaled back up. And as you can see, I drew a couple other lines here. My first one was this target here, which we saw back in about December 20th was the high at that date, and we are just now reaching that level right as we speak. It's 17,174, and that's basically where we were at those levels. The resistance levels that tend to be the most key and the most pivotal are the ones that hit the most often. So as you can see, we hit it once here, we hit once here, but really look at the next line that I drew at roughly 17,660. We hit 1, 2, 3 times in a row. So this is a major resistance level that I'm going to be watching this chart over the next hour or so, and we're going to see what happens. Now, what I expect to happen is if it reaches this line and it's able to break through this resistance, we're going to see a large run up. And I would logically expect a run up to probably the $1,900 level, because that tends to be a psychological barrier for people. If it doesn't reach this level, we're going to see a little bit of a pullback. We're going to see some correction. A big thing to note here is that once you pass a resistance level, it now acts as a support. So if it does pass this level, or doesn't pass this level, it's going to fall back to the previous resistance, which is now acting as support. That's a very important concept that you want to grasp when you're trading. So we can see that right here. Now, like I said, I don't want to go in too much detail today. I'm probably going to do a separate video on some of the individual indicators that I look at. But one of the main ones that you're going to want to look at first is called the RSI, or the Relative Strength Index. Now, if you get into this site, you're not going to have all these fancy indicators up in your screen. You're just going to have this one here, right? You're just going to have the movement of the prices. You know, green meaning going up and red meaning going down. And you can adjust the time scale. So if you want to look at a 4-hour chart, which means each little candlestick represents 4 hours, or you could look as small as 15 minutes, or even actually that's interesting. Look, so I drew this line here previously, you could see on the last graph, and look what's happening. It's hitting this, it hit this barrier here, and now it's starting to come down almost exactly where I drew that line. That's the power of resistance, and you can see that it's starting to come back down. Now, it might bobble around this area for a bit, then break out, but that's just something to know. But yes, you can change the time frame here. You go as 1 minute, you can go 1 month. You can kind of see the explosive growth if you go out to something that extreme. I wouldn't recommend that for trading. Personally, I prefer trading anywhere between, probably the lowest I'll go is a 5 minute for a really quick trade, 5, 10, 15 minute trades. Maybe sometimes those can last 30 minutes or more. When you start getting out to the hour-long trades, those are the ones that tend to be longer swing trades. 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour. But the increase tends to be that much more dramatic. So if I look at a 5-minute chart, it's going to look very similar to this. You're going to see a lot of the same things, but you want to play it a little bit differently with an hour chart, and you have to realize the time frame that you're working with here. So for example, we can see this chart starts to trend down, hits this level here, and then starts to bounce back up. But if you look at the time frame, we're looking at December 30th, and we're now on January 5th, right? So that swing takes a lot longer. But if you look at something like a 5-minute chart, you're going to see very different circumstances. It's the exact same information, but you would probably generally play this, a little quicker. If you're looking to gain, a quick 5%, quick 2%, and get in, get out kind of situation. The longer the time period that you look at, the more extreme the bounce tends to be. So specifically with the RSI and how I'm using it to trade, and really what this is doing is it's taking the strength of the individual points and plotting them over time, right? It's a gauge of the strength of the coin. In this case, we're looking at Bitcoin to US dollar. When it's going up, on this graph, that means that's good. That means the price is going up relative to the US dollar. When we take a look at the RSI, what this is showing us is it being oversold or is it being overbought? And there's lines that are drawn here in the purple between 30 and 70. When we go above 70, we're starting to enter an oversold, or overbought position. What this is signaling is that this coin is being overvalued, that it's worth more than it actually is right now, and you could probably realistically expect that the price is going to go down. When you're below 30, it's saying that it's being oversold, it's undervalued, and we're probably going to see the price go back up. So, and this tends to be quite accurate if we look over time. We're looking at a 3-hour chart here, but let's just look at some of the high and low points. So right here, this is December 7th. Notice how we reach an RSI of almost 90, basically about 90 RSI, which corresponds to this really high point that we see right here in the graph. Shortly after, we see a price correction and it goes down to about the $1,400 level when it previously was almost at $1,700. Now, how do I play this? If I was holding Bitcoin, let's say, and it got to this really high level, I would be wanting to trade that out either into US dollars or into other coins. And you see that right here, that it wouldn't make a lot of sense to hold on to Bitcoin here if you're trying to day trade, because it's going to come back down. Pretty simple, right? Same thing, you can work this on the other way. If I'm looking for a coin to get into, I like to buy coins that are being undervalued, and I value that using the RSI. So Bitcoin here is undervalued, or was undervalued on, what date are we? The 22nd of December. It was extremely undervalued. So if you could buy right here on the 22nd of December, you would have seen a huge spike back up because it was being way oversold. So this is just a very simple indicator that you can use to start making simple, easy trades. And I encourage you, do your homework, do your research. You can go in here and add pretty much any coin you can think of and just look out throughout the history. You can see time and time again where the RSI tends to hold up very, very well, and it's probably my favorite, definitely my favorite indicator to use for trading that I found, and I've also found it to be the absolutely most accurate of pretty much any indicator that I've used. And how do you add an indicator? You click this button here. Pretty simple, brings up this. You're going to search Relative Strength Index. You're going to click that, and it's going to pop up for you. No problems whatsoever. Something you should note, the Relative Strength Index depends on the chart that you're using. If you're using a 5-minute chart, it is going to take the last it's going to take the last 14 points on your chart. And each point is only 5 minutes on a 5-minute chart. If you look at a 1-hour chart, it's going to take the last 14 points on this chart. So just be aware of what chart you're looking at when you're making your trades. Again, general rule of thumb, if you're looking to make longer term trades, use a longer term chart. If you want to make a really quick trade, 5-minute charts will probably be best for you. But you've got to kind of decide what time availability do you have to make trades. Personally, I like making quick trades. I don't like holding overnight. And even while I say this, I want to be completely transparent with you guys. I made a major mistake just a couple days ago. I went to make a day trade and I kind of got burned. So if we take a look at this coin, this is Bitcoin Cash in relation to Bitcoin. Let's take a look at like a 15-minute here. So I've got some lines drawn on here. RSI went below 30, went really low, and I ended up buying, but I bought too soon. I bought during the fall and not at the bottom. Major mistake for me. I shouldn't have done it. The other problem is I didn't pay close enough attention to this coin, and I kind of jumped into it too quickly, and it ended up being a much longer term swing than I was anticipating, to the point where I was having to hold this coin overnight, which is something I don't like to do. And the reason for that is exactly this. I held it overnight. By the time I looked at it the next day, it was all the way down here, and I had lost, at that point, probably 7 or 8% of my position. And today it's down even more. So now this is kind of transitioned to me, or for me, to being a longer term hold. Doesn't mean that these things won't swing back up. They tend to often do. If we look at like a 1-hour chart here, we can see it's got a pretty low RSI. It's right at the 30. I expect it to probably bounce back up at least. Will it get back to this level? Maybe not, at least in the next couple days. But I could foresee some sort of a bounce here. But again, I tend to think that I can make more of my money on quick trades. And having to wait a couple days on a trade is just me kind of sinking cash into something that's a losing asset. And it's really 2-3 days wasted of trading. So learn from my mistake. Make sure you're looking at the right time frame. You're not purchasing coins at 9 p.m. at night if you're going to go to bed at 11. Not a smart thing to do, and I got burned for it, and I learned from it. I've learned a great deal over the past couple weeks. I've definitely seen myself improve. But you still make mistakes. Lucky thing is we're making mistakes in a market that is very forgiving. These coins tend to go back up almost always, so you're not going to get burned too bad. But again, pay attention to the indicators, pay attention to the time frame. Make sure you have the time to monitor. If you're wanting to do long-term swings, go ahead and do that. You can definitely make a profit doing long-term swings. I like short-term swings. They tend to be safer. You're not going to wake up to 30% down the next day if you're making a 1-hour trade, 15-minute trade. Might only make 5%, might not make 50%, but I'll definitely take 5% easy. So that's all I had today, guys. I'll link in the description the video for Hashflare, as well as a sign up for TradingView if you want to get involved. It's completely free. You don't have to pay for anything. They do have pro versions if you're interested, if you like to add a lot of things to your chart, but honestly, you probably don't need it. I am using a pro chart now, so I have access to a couple more indicators than the standard. But I advise probably just doing the free version, trying that out, and if you had some success and you want to go pro, you can definitely do that as well. But until next time, guys, take care. Thanks.